I want to talk to you today about trusting God's ways. We're not going to understand everything that happens in life. There will be detours, delays, even dead ends, and times where it looks like we're stuck. It's easy to get discouraged when our plans don't work out, frustrated when a door closes, or upset over that person that did us wrong. It's like we went one step forward, then two steps backwards. But God doesn't always take us in a straight line. The scripture says everything serves His plan. Not just the good breaks, times you're promoted and seeing favor, but even the closed doors, the person that walked away, the promotion you didn't get. Doesn't make sense to us, but God has a master plan. He can see things that we can't see. Sometimes He'll take you backwards so He can move you forward. Or He'll close a door to force us to change. We were comfortable where we were. We were satisfied, but God wasn't satisfied. He has something greater, something that we've never imagined. He uses trouble as transportation. We don't like it. Feels like a setback. The truth is, it's a setup. The trouble is not there to stop you. It's there to propel you. On the other side of that challenge is a new level of your destiny. The question is, will you trust Him in the trouble? Will you stay in peace when things are happening you don't understand? You worked hard, but you didn't get the promotion. You were good to that person, but they walked away. It's tempting to get bitter, complain. God, where were you? This isn't fair. No, the right attitude is, God, I don't like it, but I trust you. I know you're in control. You wouldn't have allowed this storm if you weren't going to use it to my advantage. So I'm going to stay in faith. I'm going to keep a good attitude, knowing that something greater is coming. Sometimes God will take you out of a comfortable situation, out of a place of blessing where you're seeing favor, and He'll force you into your boat, so to speak. It doesn't make sense. You know God's ordering your steps. You've seen His blessing. But now the winds, the waves. God, I never thought I'd be dealing with this trouble, this medical issue, this child that's off course. You find yourself in a storm. Can I encourage you? God wouldn't have allowed the storm if you weren't going to make it to the other side. If that storm was going to stop your purpose, He would have never forced you to get in the boat. That trouble was going to take you out. He would have never had you leave that place of blessing. The reason God sent you across the lake is because He has greater things in your future.
What do you think is the most disobeyed verse in the Bible? Now, nobody knows for sure and nobody can prove it, but one could argue that one of the most important verses is also one of the most often disobeyed verses. It also happens to be the most commonly quoted verse on coffee mugs in the history of the world. Perhaps the most disobeyed verse in the Bible could be Proverbs chapter 3, verse 5, that says, trust in the Lord with all your heart. I'll give you the whole verse over here, if we can get it on there. Trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding in all your ways. This is hard to do, right? In all your ways, acknowledge Him and He will make your path straight. What is it that you might be worried about? Those of you who are students, it might be an upcoming test that's just got you all spun up. It could be a decision that you have to make and you're not sure what you're gonna do. I'm certain that many of you are really concerned about your schedule. How in the world am I gonna get it all done? Or it might be a child that you have that's not living in a way that you think is wise or God honoring. It could be your marriage that you're trying and praying and hoping, and no matter how hard you work, it seems like you take 2 steps forward and then 19 back, right? It could be financially. The moment you start to catch up, everything doubles in price. And you're going, how did we get here? Could I ever even afford to buy a house? I can barely even buy milk right now. It could be that you're worried about the health of someone you love or even your own health. What is it that you're concerned about? When you think about it though, what we worry about shows us a lot about what we believe about God. Think about this. What you worry about the most often reveals where you trust God the least. Whatever you worry about the most is often an indicator of the place where you may not be trusting in the Lord with all your heart. Instead, you're leaning on your own understanding. What I want to do today is I want to talk to you about when you want to trust God and when you're trying to trust God, but it's really hard to trust God. Today, we're going to look at Hannah from the Old Testament, and we're going to look at her pre-decision to put her trust in God no matter what she would see. We're going to start in 1 Samuel chapter 1, verse 2, and see kind of an interesting situation in a marriage. Okay, so Elkanah had two wives, Hannah and Peninnah. Peninnah had children, but Hannah did not. Now, according to several commentaries that I read, a lot of scholars believe that it's most likely he married Hannah, and Hannah couldn't conceive, and he wanted to keep his legacy going, so he probably married Peninnah in order to try to have children and keep his name alive. You can imagine for Hannah how difficult that is. So she's got, a husband and she can't give him children. Then she's got this other Peninnah chick that can. And especially when she lived, during that time, it was thought that a woman's primary value was from childbearing. And culture was mean. If you were a woman who couldn't have children, the culture would say, you did something wrong, you've sinned, God is punishing you, or literally you're cursed by God. So you can only imagine what's going on in Hannah's mind. She's like, I want to give my husband children, I want to have a baby, but I can't. Did I do something wrong? Is God mad at me? I'm a failure. And she might have felt very ashamed for something that wasn't her fault, but she thought it was her fault. And some of you may be in a similar place right now. You may be in the middle of a trial and you're wondering, is God punishing me for this? And you're praying that God would deliver you or heal you or help you. And he hasn't. And you're wondering, did I do something wrong? Is God even real? If he is, does he even care? So Peninnah would taunt Hannah and make fun of her because the Lord had kept her from having children. That's just mean. Year after year, it was the same. That phrase really gets me. Year after year, it was the same. Peninnah would taunt Hannah as they went to the temple. Each time, Hannah would be reduced to tears and would not even eat. And year after year, scripture says, it was the same. Year after year, it was the same. And I don't know what it'd be for you, but some of you, year after year, you've prayed and believed this would be the year that God would bring supernatural healing. And year after year, it was the same. Year after year, you ask God to heal you of your depression, and you find it even difficult to make it through the day. Year after year, you're worried about money, and you believe that this would be the year that you finally would get ahead, and this is the year you fall even further behind. Year after year, you believe God is going to bring you someone special to spend the rest of your life with. And year after year, you got no good prospects and you're wondering if there's anybody out there at all. And so you can kind of imagine how Hannah would have felt, because all she's doing is asking God to do what he does for almost everybody else, right? God, I just want a baby. God, just give me a child. She's praying for it, and God doesn't give her the child. Year after year, she prays and waits and hopes. And year after year, it was the same. How do you think she kept her faith in God? How do you think she handled it when people were cruel, criticizing her, when God seemed unfair? She made it because she had decided that no matter what she sees, no matter what happens in her life, no matter what God does or no matter what God does not do, she decided to trust in God. And her trust and her faith grew. Why? Because our trust in God does not grow in good times. When does our trust grow? We learn to trust God in the trials. We learn to trust God when things aren't going the way we want them to go.
Where God is taking you, you're going to have to get in the boat and cross to the other side. Yes, there will be winds and waves, thoughts telling you you're not going to make it. It'll never be like it used to. Losing that loved one, it's all downhill from here. Those winds you thought would stop you, they're going to blow you to a place of abundance where you see beauty for ashes, talent coming out that you didn't know you had, influence, opportunity, favor. And sure, at times it feels like the winds are too strong, the loss too painful, the sickness too great, a child that's breaking your heart. You don't think you can make it. God is saying to you, I'm right here with you in this storm. It's going to be okay. You can relax. You're in good hands. God is in control of the winds of that storm.